Hello everybody, how's it going? I'm Prince Tumi and welcome to Writing Thoughts. A few months ago I made you a video on 11 things writers do that I hate, and I promised the following week that I would make a video on 11 things writers do that I love. And instead of doing it the very next week, I made you wait in anticipation for months and months. But without further ado, we're going to begin. Sorry about the delay. I've been going through a lot of stuff and also working on a lot of stuff, so I put YouTube on hold. So, without further ado, let's do this! Number 1. When stories pull me into the world and make me want to live there. It is so great when a story actually feels like an escape and makes you want to be part of that world. I mean, how many of us have opened our wardrobes hoping to go into Narnia? And how many of us have even tried using the Force, or have just wished that we could live in the world of Avatar, or have even waited for our Hogwarts letters so that we could go to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry? The point is, a story that makes you want to live in that world and that makes you envy the characters living in it is great. Because stories ultimately need to sometimes be an escape for us from our daily lives and from all of the drama that we're living through. And when a story provides you with that great escape, it becomes more memorable and it stays in your heart longer. Number 2. When the character development is so on point, I end up loving and rooting for the character that I used to hate. A big example is Prince Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I hated Zuko in season 1. I started to feel for him more in season 2, and by the end of that season I was so for him that I was disappointed when he went back to evil. And when he finally came around and joined the good guys in season 3, I was rejoicing because I was finally happy that he finally made the right choice, transitioning from villain to hero. This is good character development. This is something that a lot of stories lack. Yes, sometimes it's great when you just have a villain that you hate from beginning to end, but when you manage to change a person's feelings about a character that you intend to change, that is a good thing, because sometimes a writer can change a character, but the reader is not on board because of how much about the character is unlikable. But if you can actually get the reader to care about the character's change from good to bad, or from point A to point B, that is excellent writing, and you have done a great job. Well done. Number 3. When writers produce excellent and exciting combat scenes. Let me tell you something. Writing combat is not easy. It's easier to draw it, and it's even easier to animate it. And when I say easier, I don't mean like the process of doing it is easy. No. I mean like actually showing it is easier. But showing action in writing is extremely tricky because there are so many ways you can do it, and if it goes on for too long, the story can drag. And also, even if you manage to create a good combat scene or a good fighting scene, you can find yourself having trouble coming up with one that tops the one you did in book 1, or having one that tops the one you did at the beginning of the book. Sometimes the combat scenes at the beginning of the book are great, but then the final battle at the end can be pretty lackluster or pretty disappointing in comparison to the first one, because you always want to outdo yourself with each fight, or you always want specific fights to have more emphasis or more impact than other fights in your story, and that's not always easy to do. So when you actually have a story that has consistently good combat, and then the key combat scenes are so incredibly mind-blowing, it is just awesome. I love a story that can give me a good battle. Rick Riordan has been very great with this with the Percy Jackson books and with the Heroes of Olympus books. He wasn't so great with it with the Magnus Chase books. So that's what I mean when I say that it's very excellent when a book actually gets this right. I mean, even C.S. Lewis, when writing the Chronicles of Narnia, he was great at writing the adventure portion of the books, but he wasn't that great at writing the combat portion of the books. It always went by so quickly, and it was always described from the point of view of spectators, and I didn't really enjoy that. Writing combat is not easy, but when it's great, oh baby, is it great. Number 4. When the writing manages to keep you invested in the story, whether the stakes are high or low. A lot of people have this really dumb idea that once you've made the stakes too high, the story stops being interesting because you can't make any higher stakes than that. I disagree. When stories are high stakes all the time, those high stakes end up losing any sense of urgency. They actually end up getting too exhausting and they end up being too stale. But when a writer manages to consistently go from high to low stakes over and over again, the low stakes can actually be a nice and welcome pause from the high stakes, and when you then return to the high stakes, they become all the more important and they feel all the more dangerous after going through some pretty low stakes storylines. But the low stakes storylines aren't just good because they're a break from the high stakes, but because they find their own way to be engaging, whether it's a story about the end of the world or a story about somebody studying to get into a school because it's their last chance to change their future. Slice of life anime makes some very engaging low stakes stories that sometimes even grip you more than the high stakes stories of shonen. And Naruto, for example, has some very excellently done high stakes shonen. And when you look at the lower stakes, would say Your Lie in April, there isn't a lot of combat, but you actually really care about Kosei's journey as he tries to get over all of the psychological abuse that his mother did to him when he tries to go back into playing the piano. Any story can be good regardless of the stakes if you as a writer know what you're doing. It doesn't always have to be high stakes and it doesn't always have to be low stakes. If you manage to make it good whether the stakes are high or low, then you, my friend, are doing an excellent job. Bravo to you. Number 5, when the story is freaking inspiring. I'm talking about those stories where once you've put the book down or once you've finished an episode, you just feel inspired to do something with yourself. You feel inspired to be more, to take on challenges, to face your fears. Stories like this that are so uplifting when life has been weighing you down are such a great relief. I mean, I felt inspired when All Might stood before Izuku Midoriya and told him that he too could become a hero. It just really spoke to me, even though he was speaking to Deku. And in Naruto, when you saw Naruto constantly stick to his ninja way and constantly work hard to achieve his goals, no matter how many setbacks he faced, no matter how many times people spoke down to him, no matter how many times people told him he wasn't good enough, but he kept striving forward and talking a good game anyway, it gave me inspiration to keep talking a good game and to keep moving forward and to keep working hard regardless of what's happening. And even with the anime and manga real life, how the story always deals with the theme of facing your fears and improving yourself, and even not letting your past mistakes hold you back from taking on challenges again and again. That is inspiring because sometimes when we face things in our lives and we face failure and we make horrible mistakes, we tend to shy away from ever trying again because we always let those past mistakes cripple us and hold us back. But real life teaches you that just because you had setbacks and just because you made mistakes in the past, it doesn't mean you can't do better if you try again and if you learn from those previous mistakes. Don't let the you of the past hold you back from what you can do tomorrow, and don't let those past mistakes or those past blunders stop you from doing things better now. Keep moving forward. When a story inspires you to take life on and to just press on, oof, man, those stories are my jam. They are my jam. I love those stories. I love them, and I'm sure many of you agree with me as well. Number 6, when the story's lore actually manages to stay consistent the longer the story goes. A lot of stories struggle to get this right. They struggle to keep the story's lore consistent, especially when they add spin-offs and sequels and prequels, or even make this book go from book 1 up to book 10. Sometimes the lore gets retconned along the way, or sometimes the writer seems to just forget the rules that they made at the beginning, or sometimes the writers just completely ignore the rules they have. But when a writer actually pays meticulous attention to the story they're writing, and they make sure that no matter what they add on, no matter what new information is added, the lore stays the same and every bit of new information actually adds to the lore instead of just changing it, I really appreciate that, because I care a whole lot when a story manages to be consistent. I know not everybody cares about it as much as I do, but that stuff matters to me. It tells me that you as a writer care about what you're doing, and that makes me respect you and your story a whole lot more. Number 7, when the story makes me want to cry, punch, kick, or just be friends with its characters. When a character actually manages to get a reaction like that out of you, it means that you actually know how to write characters. It means that the characters have actually become real to your readers. This is a good thing. Whether the reception towards your character's personality or little quirks are positive or negative, whether the character's little problems actually matter to your reader, even if it's a pretty low stakes problem, the fact that you can get your reader to cry with your character or to feel relief with your character is great. These are stories that don't get made as much anymore, and it is important that they are made because we want to care about the characters. If you can get people to care about the characters, you can get them to follow them along your story, even in the moments where the story slows down a bit, building up to the next thing. Character-driven stories can sometimes have a bigger impact than plot-driven stories. Now, but when the story has a strong plot and a strong set of characters, that is a masterpiece. Number 8, when the story has a happy ending after all the suffering. I know a lot of people love it when stories leave them miserable and when stories have a miserable ending because apparently that's reality. But you know what? Not everybody on earth has a sad endings. And you know what else? I don't go to stories just for realism. I go to stories to escape. I go to stories to root for the characters, and I want to see them have a happy ending after all the crap they have to go through. I don't want to see characters suffer to reach a goal and then end up miserable by the end of it. No, I want to see them happy. Even if they fail to reach the goal they set out for, I want to see them in a better place than they were when they started, because I actually care about what they're going through. I actually care about their lives. I want them happy. That's not a bad thing. You're not a bad writer if you give characters a happy ending. No, sure, you can make a good story with a sad ending. That's great and everything, but I prefer a good story with a satisfying conclusion. And when I say satisfying, I mean the main characters who I've been following around and who I've been investing in have a good ending in the end. I don't want to feel sorry for them. I want to feel glad for them. I felt happy when Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood ended with Edward and Alphonse Elric getting their bodies back. I felt happy when Harry Potter finally got to have a family of his own and didn't have to fight anymore. And I felt happy when the Pevensies got to go to Aslan's country after they died. They didn't just die a sad death and then they were forgotten again. No, they moved on to an even greater adventure. I love happy endings, so sue me. Number 9, when the story manages to be predictable but unpredictable at the same time. Every single reader has tropes that they like, and when a story leaves you little clues about stuff that's happening, it's going to be fun to pick up on those clues and then to actually have your suspicions confirmed. But sometimes it can be even greater to have a story give you little clues and you're correct about these things, and then it gives you more clues and you think you know where it's going, and then it just surprises you with this mind-blowing plot twist. When everything is predictable, then that's not such a fun story. When everything is unpredictable, that's not so fun either. But when a story has a healthy mix of things that you can see coming and you got your predictions right, and things you saw coming but then you were blown away by something that was even better or more unexpected, that is a fun ride. That is an amazing journey to go on. Attack on Titan does this pretty well. Somewhere around season 2, I started suspecting that the Titans were people. And then at the end of the season, when they pretty much confirmed this, I was so glad. I was so glad to be right. And then I had other suspicions and stuff about the origins of the Titans throughout the seasons that I thought were right based on the clues that were laid out for me. But then by the end of season 3, when they showed you exactly where the Titans come from, my mind was blown because I didn't see any of that coming at all. And now I don't even know where the story is going to go. And it's exciting. It was exciting to have the theories I had confirmed, and it's even more exciting that the theories that I didn't come up with were completely overrun by an even better twist than I could have ever predicted in my life. And the fact that I don't know where the story is going now makes me even more excited to find out what happens next. Number 10, when a writer creates actually fleshed out female characters. And when I say fleshed out, I mean they actually feel like real people. They don't just feel like a statement. This may surprise a lot of you, but simply having a vagina doesn't make a character a good character. What makes them a good character is when they have depth, is when they have strengths and weaknesses, when they have things that make you think that this is an actual person, where you see them struggle, you see them go through stuff, but then they triumph, or they do something awesome and you're just so happy for them, and then when they're at a low point, you're just waiting for them to overcome it and reach their high point again. You know, the same kind of depth that male characters get, but that a lot of female characters today seem to lack. A lot of writers seem to think that just because you make somebody a girl and you give them awesome attributes, then that automatically makes them awesome. Or just because somebody is a girl and other characters say that they're awesome, therefore they are. This couldn't be further from the truth. A character is so much more than the gender that they are. They are people at the end of the day, and you have to treat them like people. People with their own personality, with their own thoughts, with their own accomplishments. Accomplishments that you have to show the reader, not have other people tell the reader that they have these accomplishments. And the accomplishments have to make sense for that individual. You can't just have a female character suddenly be an expert martial artist when she has never studied it before in her life. She has to have studied it, even if it doesn't show in a flashback or anything. It has to at least be implied by the lifestyle that she lives. If your female character is awesome, let her be awesome because she is an awesome person, not just because she's a girl. That kind of character sucks. But a character who is strong and who is wise and who is courageous and who is amazing in spite of her weaknesses, or has overcome her weaknesses to become these things just because she's an awesome person, that is the kind of character I like to get behind. There are a lot of girl characters who fit this mold, but then there are a lot of girl characters who get too much praise just because they are girls and they haven't actually done anything to get the kind of praise that the writer has been making all of the characters give them. What I'm saying is, too many writers focus on the characters being female and forget to actually let them be characters. They forget to actually let them be people. What I love about Avatar: The Last Airbender is, even though all of the characters who are female are obviously female and are proud of their femininity, and sometimes their femininity is brought up for specific events and specific things in those episodes, at the end of the day, their femininity is not what defines them. What defines them is who they are inside, not what they are on the outside. It's whether or not they are caring, whether or not they are inherently strong, whether or not they are kind, whether or not they will let people push them down, whether or not they will rise up against those who are pushing them down, whether or not they will stand up to help people, or whether or not they will ignore anybody who needs their help when they're capable of helping them. That is what makes the girls in Avatar: The Last Airbender so great. Not that they are girls, but that they are incredibly powerful, motivating, kind, and incredible people. Number 11. When the characters go from being like friends to being like family. Oh, this is a big one for me. I love this. It's great to know when your ships are realized and your OTP comes together, but sometimes the thing that matters even more is when people start off as friends and then they have this incredibly pure platonic love that even outrivals any romantic love in any story. I love the platonic I love yous. I love it when friends feel more like their family, especially if these people didn't have any true and genuine love from their own families. That makes it even better when they're able to get familial love from a friend, somebody that they could choose to let into their lives and receive their love and give that love in return. I love the father and daughter relationship between Philip Coulson and Daisy Johnson in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I loved it when Xander Harris talked to Dark Willow and managed to get her to calm down and stop trying to destroy the world just by loving her, not by beating her in a fist fight, because he couldn't, but he was the one person who could talk her down because he had known her since childhood. So he had a connection with her that nobody else did, and he was able to reach her in a way that no one else could through love. Not romantic love, but powerful platonic love. I don't feel like platonic love gets as much recognition in stories as it should, because stories that have powerful and strong bonds of friendship can really hit you harder than some romantic stories can sometimes, because we like to act like romantic love is the only valid type of love, and so many stories push this message across, but sometimes it doesn't matter if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband or wife. So long as you have somebody in your corner who loves you and who helps you improve, that is a good thing. Whether or not you're dating them, or whether or not it's family, or whether or not it's just an incredible friend. And I love stories that show these types of friendships. Anyway, I could talk about more and more of these things, but I have to get working on the next video. This will come out sooner than this one did, I promise you. At least I hope it will. I don't want to make you guys wait 6 months at a time for each video. I have so many other videos I want to prepare for you. I hope you really enjoyed this. If there are things that writers or stories do that you love, please comment them below. If you want to see more videos from me, please hit like, please subscribe. I will provide more for you, I promise. I love you all. Keep on writing, my fellow writers, and I'll see you next time.